All right, questions for A-Rod. Jared, go ahead.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
What do you feel like you learned about your team last week?
Nothing I didn't already know. Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah, I already knew. I mean, yeah, nothing I didn't know already.
Well, and I kind of assumed that'd be the case, but they went out and made the plays that they need to. How do you translate into facing Arizona State this week? What do you see from them?
They're really good. They're similar to Utah athletically. Great skill in the back end, big physical front, and it's a big challenge just to stay focused. You got a lot of people telling us how good we are right now, and you gotta manage that and be ready to play again.
All right, Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, we talked the other day to a certain pass catching fullback who caught a pass or two, I think the last time BYU played Arizona State. If memory serves, I think there was a skinny little kid from Bountiful who returned a couple of punts or something that night as well on the field. Just what do you remember about kind of the last time BYU played ASU playing in that game? And do you see any sort of echoes, I guess, of those previous ASU teams in this one as well?
I don't remember that game that well. I mean, I know I didn't do anything special in that game personally. I remember we won, and it was a big deal to beat a good team. Yeah, I remember Kalani had a catch for 20 or 30 yards. He got tackled I think he got tackled near the goal line. That Ben Horton, I think, had a long touchdown catch in that game. But don't remember a lot. I just remember we pulled out a win over a good team. And I don't know what it would have to do with this game other than just anytime you play, teams that have a lot of speed like these guys do, you have your hands full and you got to be ready.
Jake, go ahead.
Aaron, when you watch Arizona State on the field defensively, can you use just a little bit of a scouting report? It seems like their linebackers seem to be the chief strength of that defense. Am I wrong in that assessment?
The linebackers are good, but the secondary is just as good. I mean, they got so much skill. The defensive line is big and physical. And then their linebackers are experienced, super athletic, and the secondary across the board, they're very skilled. This is a big challenge. They're good.
I've had some people reach out to me on social media, so I'm going to pass this question on to you. Only one catch for your tight ends through 2 games. Is there any concern with the lack of production from that unit for you?
No, not at all. We threw the ball 4 times to Isaac Rex last game, and didn't work out. Threw to him a few times the game before, didn't work out. I mean, he had 12 touchdowns last year, most of them in the red zone, and this year people aren't going to just let him get open, easily. He's going to have to work for it. We're going to have to work for it. Last game, Utah bracketed Dallin Holker twice on 3rd down. I mean, bracket coverage, and he had no catches in the first game, and they still bracketed him on 3rd down with a safety and a corner. So people are going to try to make it hard for our tight ends to get the ball because they know they're good. And so if that's the case, we'll throw it to somebody else. And the plays will come. It's early. It's 2 games. Those guys play a big role in our offense, and I'm not concerned about that yet. And sometimes it's they gotta get open, and sometimes it's the defense is dictating that the quarterback has to throw the ball somewhere else. And not concerned about that. It'll come.
Just a small follow-up to that. If a player ever comes to you and expresses their concern about their lack of production, and you kind of show them, hey, you've been bracketed here, do you kind of point to them, hey, this should be a sign of respect that the team actually fears your ability?
I might. It depends on the way they approach me about it. Most guys, I would just tell them, hey, we got a lot of other good players, so if you got complaints, we'll play somebody else. that's a nice thing about having the depth that we have, is we have a lot of good options to throw the ball to. And I don't think you're probably not going to see one guy with 12 touchdowns this year. You're not going to see one guy having 150 yards receiving every week. You're going to see different people step up and different people make plays. And that's part of being on a good team, is you got to defend the whole field. We're trying to make people defend every blade of grass out there, and every skill player on the field is a threat. And you never know from week to week what's going to be there. And so, but our tight ends they're going to get their share of touches this year, and it's coming.
Okay, Jared, go ahead.
I know Ute fans during the game last week were frustrated that the defense wasn't accounting for Jaron Hall's running ability. He had a lot of success running the ball. I'm pretty sure ASU scouted that game and knows what he's capable of. How does that change your approach, knowing that they're going to be scouting that and trying to take that away?
It won't change for us much. I mean, he ran the ball. I think he ran the ball 9 times, and 7 of them were called run plays, where and none of them were pure call, or only one of them was a pure called run just for him. So I guess you'd say we had 6 play calls where he could hand the ball off or pull it, and that's about right. We don't need a lot more than that. I think the ones he pulled were big plays, and if you go too deep into that world, then your quarterback's getting beat up. And so we want it to be something that defenses have to respect, and but we don't want to rely on it so much that it becomes a crutch, and then he doesn't make it through the season.
How would you assess the pass game? Because the yards haven't been over, the numbers statistically haven't been huge, but it's been generally pretty efficient. How would you assess that so far?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the total yards at all. I think that's the most overrated stat in football. I did talk to our team, though. We've had too many long foul balls, where it's just like we took our shots in the Utah game, did not land them. We got a critical PI call in the end zone on a deep post corner route that Sampson did a great job drawing the penalty, and we came close on a couple other plays, but coming close doesn't count, so we got to, I think that we're just 3 or 4 big plays away per game. Our point total is going up, 10 or 20 more points if we just land a few of those shots. And so we'll see. I think those plays will come with time. The thing that I'm pleased with about the passing game is Jaron's taking great care of the ball, and no sacks. We're protecting our quarterback. We're being smart with the football, and then we're being efficient. We've thrown 5 touchdown passes in 2 games. I mean, we're getting touchdowns in the passing game. And so would I like to get some more explosive plays? Yes. But if we can run the football and we take care of it, and we're getting those touchdown passes in the part of the field where it's tough sledding, it's not always easy to run it in, then we're going to win a lot of games. And so we'll keep working at it. And then the other thing that's important to recognize is this is, Jaron's 2nd start this year, 4th start of his career. So he's played basically 3 full games in his college football career. And I think it's fair to expect him to just get a little better each game and see the game a little better and be a little more accurate. And as that progress continues, we'll be a little more aggressive.
Okay, Alex, last question.
Coach, after this last game against Utah, you guys had several your game plan seemed fairly efficient with long play drives. I mean, you guys had a drive of like a 93-yard drive, as well as one that got over basically 7 minutes of game time off the clock. Without revealing too much, what are you guys looking to – how can you guys replicate that same success against Arizona State?
Yeah, different games, different opponents. I mean, in that Utah game, that you can't beat the Utes with finesse. I coached there for 12 years. I saw it over and over. Teams try to run the ball. Utah stops the run. They make you one-dimensional. The other team reverts to the pass. then the pass rush gets going, and that's when the turnover fest starts. The hits on the quarterback, the fumbles, the interceptions, and that's been their formula to win forever. And so we knew as a team going into that game that we were not going to fall into that trap, and we were going to run the ball for 4 quarters if that's what it took, and stick with it. We weren't going to abandon what we were doing. We believed in our plan. We knew the game might be a grinder, might be a score in the 20s or something like that, and we were okay with that. We just got to win by 1 more than the other team, and so it worked. That's not the same plan we want to play every single week. We want to be a team that's aggressive, and we want to be a team that's balanced, and that's what we'll set out to do against most teams. It depends on the opponent, and so that was our formula for beating Utah. That might not be the formula for winning other games.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Jake, I always cut you off. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Not a big deal.
Okay, you can go first next.
Who else we got?
Gunner, and then I'm not sure who's next.
Okay.
KJ, go ahead.
Hi, Gunner. Appreciate you doing this. Wanted to start off, how does it feel to be facing essentially your hometown team this week in Arizona State?
I'm excited. It's fun. My high school coach is a coach there. He's a running backs coach. I got a couple old teammates, a couple of people I played against in high school that play for them. So I'm excited to go back or for them to come up here and to just compete against those dudes because it's personal for me. I mean, I lived 10, 15 minutes away from ASU.
How is the knee holding up for you? Obviously, we saw you taped up pretty good on Saturday, but how's it holding up?
It's good. After I got my MRI last week, there's no structural damage to it. It's really just dealing with the pain, and it gets better every single day. I felt good during the Utah game, just a little sore this week, but I'm good. I'll be even better this week.
Okay, Jared, and then Sean.
Gunnar, how would you assess BYU's explosive plays to this point, particularly in the passing game?
I don't think we've had enough, as many as we wanted to this point, but I think, we've been able to get it done. But as the season goes along, I think that's one thing that we need to do a lot better of is having those explosive plays, whether it's in the run game or the pass game. We've been able to get it done with just enough so far, but looking forward, I think that's one area that we can greatly improve on.
The flip side of that, and this is something that we've talked about before, but I don't know if people credit enough. How do you assess what the receivers, tight ends, running backs have done in the block game as far as helping the rush game?
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of with the pass game. I think we've been able to get it done to this point, but we're always looking to improve. I think there's a lot of plays where we leave yardage on the field, but there's also a lot of good things happening. I think, with the first 2 games under our belt, I think with that experience, hopefully we can just continue to improve throughout the season and continue to break even more plays because of that blocking.
Gunnar, you touched on this a little bit about how personal this game is for you, growing up 10 to 15 minutes away from ASU and now playing for BYU and all that. I remember when I lived down in the Valley, and this was over 20 years ago, so it might not mean anything to you, but there was a real kind of heated thing between BYU and Arizona State. Does that still exist obviously there are a lot of members of the church in that area versus here and that kind of thing. Like, is there still like a perception about BYU kind of where you grew up over in Chandler and in Tempe and in the Valley?
Yeah, a little bit. Like you mentioned, there's a huge LDS presence in the Valley. So when there's an LDS presence, there's always going to be a BYU presence. And so it kind of conflicted a little bit with that ASU fan base. So there for sure is a little bit of conflict. And so I wouldn't say it's a rivalry, but I think there's a lot of people that are kind of torn between this game. And there's a lot of, families that might be split.
Jake, last question.
Yeah, Gunner, in terms of how the wide receiver unit is coming together, obviously we saw the Nakua brothers get their first extensive action against Utah. How have they fit in with you guys that have kind of been the returning guys in that unit?
I think they fit in perfect. Both of those dudes are really high energy dudes, and that's what we love about them. They bring an energy that it amplifies the entire offense and even the team really with the energy they bring. You know, they're not going to shy away from, going in and making a block, even if the play's not coming to them, or if they're running a route that's not designed for them, they're going to run at full speed. So I think they've taken on a great role, and really they're selfless players, which is huge for the entire offense. But I think they fit in perfect with our offense.
All right. Thanks, Gunner.
Thank you.
All right. Blake is up last.
Oh.
All right. Questions for Blake. Jared, go ahead.
Blake, I wanted to ask you about your own evolution. You know, you've grown into this offensive lineman role, and to go out and play the way you're able to play against Utah. What's that evolution and seeing your journey at this point?
It was really, really weird at first. Initially, just coming here as a former quarterback, tight end, DN type guy. But I think having the coaches we had my first year was really great for me. They were really hard, and they were super picky, which was really good for what I needed. I think they helped turn me into a great player, or what I'm becoming right now. And just building off of that, Coach Funk has helped me a ton, and I'm still trying to grow every day, which is my goal there.
To come out as a unit, with you being part of that and perform against a stout Utah defense, A-Rod talked about how their goal is always to stop the run at Utah, and to be able to run the ball like you guys did, that's got to be a sense of accomplishment, I guess.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. I'll give credit to the Utah D-line. I mean, they're tough, they're physical, and we knew that going into the game that they're stopping the run. Like, their D-line is a good part of their team, and I think taking that all week in preparation was just really good for us, and I think we just went out and did what we were supposed to do.
Okay, let's go Jake and then Jay.
Blake, if I'm not mistaken, you made your first career start against Boise State in 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How different of a player are you today versus that game, essentially?
I would say night and day. Like, I go back and I'll see film from that game, and I'm just kind of shaking my head. I'm like, dude, what am I doing out there? I was just running around, getting in front of people that game. I think now I know what I'm doing. From, I guess, that first game to this last week, it's just completely night and day.
I also wanted to ask you, obviously, when you play on a side of the offensive line, you develop a relationship with the guys next to you, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Clark Barrington. He's been there for the last 2 years, kind of that mainstay at left guard. How important has he been as you've kind of settled into that left tackle spot?
He's been great. I mean, Clark is always consistent, always knows what he's doing. It was just I feel like it's a smooth transition, me switching over to that left side. And, I mean, it's just been seamless with Clark.
Hey, Blake, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your dad who played at BYU. When you picked BYU, how much did your dad like that he played here? How much did that play into your decision?
I think it played a good role. He tried to kind of let me do my own thing, let me decide for myself, see what's best for me. And I think he was really open to other opportunities. But just him, both him and my mom being former BYU athletes, it kind of urged me to come here, continue that legacy, and just kind of their experiences, talking about just how the college is and stuff, and that influenced me also, just to come here.
So he was an offensive lineman, and you in high school were, everyone knows were a quarterback and all that. Does he critique you on offensive line play? Do you guys talk after every game? Take me through that.
So he played O-line in high school, but he played like DN linebacker in college.
Okay.
So I always ask him, because he's been coaching me my whole life. So I always like ask for tips and stuff. And he's like, "Hey man, you know way more than me already." Like, it's like you're already on a whole nother level than I was. So he tries to kind of stay out of it that way.
Did you want to wear his number?
I mean, ideally, yeah, but as an offensive lineman, you don't really got many options.
Yes. And then just finally, what as far as what he did, his future after BYU, what advice has he given you to because I know you'd like to play at the next level?
Mm-hmm. He uses his past experiences and kind of just makes me focus on kind of staying focused on what you're trying to accomplish. He really urges me to limit distractions, whether it be just like partying, girls, whatever it might be. I mean, even like playing pickup basketball, he's always like, if I ever go play basketball, he's like, "Hey man, you gotta chill out with that, You don't lose your opportunity playing football." So he always tries to keep me on the right track and not miss out opportunities.
Thanks, Blake.
Okay, let's go. Last two questions, Sean and then Alex.
Blake, I had a great question all queued up, but I got to follow up real quick on that last one. Are you still the best basketball player on the BYU offensive line then? It doesn't sound like you're playing as much anymore.
On the offensive line, Connor Pay is pretty nice, I'd say.
Okay.
He's got a nice three-point shot.
I was going to say, he kind of thinks that he's a sharpshooter, though, still, or he did in high school.
He says he's a sharpshooter.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him, though. He's good.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'll take him in the paint, though.
Right. My real question, though, one of the things that Coach Kalani was talking to us about the other day was just how focused you guys were last week on that Utah game and getting that big win in a rivalry game. There was a lot, as you know by now, that was happening, and you saw what went down Friday with the Big 12 and all that, but you guys were just locked in on Saturday. How have you been able to kind of maintain a similar focus for this weekend when it's not necessarily like a rivalry game and a streak involved and that kind of thing, but you still got to be locked in like you were for a very good ASU team? Honestly, I think that locked in mentality has gone way, way back to, the off season even. Last week was great and we were locked in and ready for Utah and we didn't bat an eye when the other great good news came around. But I was just thinking about this earlier today. I think all of our dudes really wanted to prove something this year and continued to really work and train on their own craft. And I felt like people this offseason were putting in more extra work than they had been before. They're working hard in the film room, the weight room, and all this stuff. And I think for the past couple of weeks, it's just been continuing to grow and grow. And I think we're taking every week like it's the most important game, because it is.
Last question for you, Blake. You've had a lot of guys that have moved on and are kind of establishing themselves at the next level. You got Brady Christensen, Tristan Hodge, Shannon Herring, even James Empey looks like he could be on the same path to the NFL as well. What is their example meant to you as a lineman?
I think just their work ethic. Honestly, all those dudes are always grinding, in season, out of season. Like, they're always doing the most. Like, you always see them doing extra work. You always see them doing extra film. I think James is a great example, especially him still being here. He's still always putting in that extra film work. Every time I pass him in the hallway, he's on his iPad, just looking, watching the next opponent, which is a great example to me. And I've been trying to emulate all those examples, which is, I think, ideal.
All right. Thanks, Blake.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. That's it for today, everybody. Anybody got any questions?
Thanks, Ari.
Thanks, sorry.